Hello and welcome back to the EF5 podcast. The crossroads between
today's news.
logistics and life.
Tick, 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 tick. Fresh off the printer.
Yes.
Hot out the press.
Oh, we got a new one. So what we're gonna talk about today is books. Now I know everyone loves books. Books are the best, right? Everyone loves books. Everyone reads books daily. Everyone reads books daily. Everyone frequently goes to their library. Barnes & Noble and Books A Million are just, flourishing, I'm sure. Everyone loves books.
That's how Amazon started, books?
Yeah, but what do you think Amazon's bestseller is now?
I don't know, but that's how they started, books.
You think they sell books still?
Isn't that ironic?
It is kind of a little bit.
Where you can get all your knowledge from. That's where they started.
That's
how they built Amazon.
They're basically the Google of online selling.
What?
Because it's where you get all your knowledge from. You can get everything from Amazon. You
Not
can
anymore.
know everything
you just
from
said
Google.
They don't sell books.
You can get everything from Amazon, but you can know everything from Google.
Yeah. That's up for debate.
See?
That's why books are so important.
Anyways, as we were talking about books, let's actually talk about books. So, how many books have you read, do you think, generally, if you were to put a number?
I don't know. Before high school, after high school?
Probably after high school, because you didn't read it before high school, let's be real.
I read just enough to get through the...
Yeah, you read what? The Odyssey, Iliad?
I didn't read any of that crap.
You didn't?
No.
Everyone that I've known said
I might have supposed to have been reading it.
That's a good point. I didn't read it either, but I was supposed to read it.
Yeah, I read enough to
get by.
Try to get by,
right.
to be honest, totally honest.
So what about
since then,
within the past 10 years? I feel like that's a fair, because you probably still didn't read too much before the last 10 years either. I imagine.
No. Sports page, Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, maybe business
occasional
magazine.
Newspaper here or there.
Right.
But really, no. Now I don't know. I just a while back, one of the key ways to learn is to read books. So started, but to answer your question, shoot, I don't know. I mean, I guess in the last 3 years, I at least get one a month now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in the last 10 years, simple math, over 100.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy to think. No.
Wild, ain't it?
Now, some of them are like this little.
Yeah, like 80, 120 pages, somewhere around there. And you've also probably
Come
read
on
a
now.
couple multiple
They might
times.
be like under 200. They're not all 80.
Well, I was more saying for some of the ones that could be fit in a smaller book but are in a bigger book, so they take up more.
Now, some of them 140 pages do have big font. So and they might be small pages.
Hey, man, listen, I'll read a giant book if it's got big font. I ain't going to lie. Because I'd much rather be able to see it clearly and not have to, try to read it.
Right.
Than, being able to read it and understand it and then have to just read more pages.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't care about the trees that much, honestly.
You're tearing up the world here.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
We'll all lose oxygen if you don't care about the trees.
That's true. I didn't think about it that way. I'll just make my own.
But we're going to die with the cows farting, according to AOC. So back to the books. I try to get about 10 pages a day in a book.
Okay.
I had a bad habit of trying to read 3 and 4 books at one time.
Yeah, I don't think that's really going to do you much.
It does good, though, because if you're not interested in one, you can jump to the other. But
just forget about the one that you didn't read very quickly.
Well, yeah, it is a little bit harder to catch back up. So, yeah, I try to cut that out and stay with one.
You said roughly 100 within the past 3 to 5 years, something like that.
Well, you said 10, and really started reading, I guess, in the last 5 to 7. So, really probably 7 years, over 100 at least.
Okay. Now, if you were to name any book that stood out to you the most, what would that be? Or I guess your favorite book.
Well, first and foremost is one of the favorite one. You always get something new is the Bible, of course.
Right.
That's kind of like the most known
book
around. Outside of that, one really simple, really just crazy simple book called Who Moved My Cheese? Who Moved My Cheese?
It's an old one. I hadn't heard about that one in a while. Was that the... No, that wasn't. Never mind. But that was one.
Without people
you read
getting
that
their
like
feel-
super early on, didn't
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
Because it was really small and it was like 60 pages, and I felt accomplished when I got through it.
Right.
But I've literally reread probably 20 to 30 of my books,
Okay.
and sometimes maybe even more than twice.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 or 4 I've probably read 4 or 5 times. They were
Okay.
just that good. And to me, it's similar to the Bible. Is like when you go back and you reread something that's pretty good, you really get so much more out of it. And it's a lot of that's where you're at in life.
Right.
So you might pick up on something else that is more powerful in that moment compared to the other thing you got.
Mm-hmm.
So. And if it's a
Okay.
really good read, then it will hold your attention again, second, third, fourth, fifth time.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, well, what is like your kind of like favorite book to read? 'Cause I know you read like a lot of the word. I don't like saying the word, but self-help books.
Lord.
I don't like that. What's the word? What's
They're
the
like practical living, really.
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean,
that was a
that's
better
really-
word. I forget because I think Ed Milet or someone said something about it, and he was like, I hate the word self-help, but there's
Well,
a different word for
And
it.
Tony Robbins says he's a coach. So that's
Mhm.
how he refers to his. Because
Gotcha.
people box him in as a self-help guru and he can fix everybody's problem.
Right.
But
That's
that's-
just not
I
the
mean,
case.
It's really you're learning, you're growing,
Mhm.
you're educating yourself, and being a lifelong learner,
Mhm.
lifetime learner.
Now, would you say that's like your favorite like category of book, or is there other ones
Yeah,
that interest you? Or?
For me, I don't like reading fake stuff. I just ain't got time for that.
Mhm.
So I'm never been really gravitated to the unrealistic 3D world sci-fi stuff that seems to be way out there, vampires, different things of that element just
Right.
don't pique my interest.
Right. So it's mainly just like the
So- Peel that out, and you go, okay, what's left? It's biographies about interesting people.
mhm,
then
nonfiction stuff, essentially.
Yeah, and then it's growth stuff over here, whether it be business, health, whatever it looks like. If I'm going to spend my time going through the reading process, I want to get something from it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now,
that's
what-
kind of my mindset looking at.
Now, what was your least favorite book that you've read so far?
I can't even. I tried to read one called The Church Boy that was recommended through other reads, and it was a guy who, the stories are similar as you go through them, but you're
Right.
looking for one thing you didn't have by reading it.
Right.
The guy was ex-addict, drug addict, became a preacher, and he ended up doing well financially, and he had like little tidbits of stories. It just didn't do it for me. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, I got like halfway through, and I was like, I can't even force myself to finish this.
Was it just like boring?
Yeah, the storyline and everything, just there was nothing original from my point of view, and there's much better reads I've had, and I finally had to just say, hey, that's enough. I got to put this up.
Right. You don't feel like you're getting anything from it. You feel like you're just wasting your
Correct.
time. And how big was the book? Was it like?
It was just like 250 pages, so it was
Really?
like a real good investment to try to realize.
It
Like,
just ain't
I had to
worth.
I spent a long time trying to get into it, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it ain't happening.
Okay. Nope.
One of the best just overall books, and it is spiritually driven, and I guess you can call it the self-help category or whatever, but The Purpose-Driven Life, that's a really awesome book. And you don't even have to believe in whatever you believe, just the content in it is really strong.
Mm-hmm.
When Michael Phelps was going through all his problems, the famous swimmer from Baltimore.
Is he from Baltimore?
Yeah, he is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, his last DUI that sent him spiraling was downtown Baltimore. He got pulled over by the police, leaving the casino on a drunk night, blah, 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 all that good stuff.
Gotcha.
And he was having an alcohol problem. He had some family emotional problems that finally caught up to him, and he went in rehab and everything. And Ray Lewis, out of all the people, he called him. He was in a bad spot because Ray Lewis was a big Baltimore celebrity, so to speak,
Mhm.
being a Raven. They played with the Ravens, so they knew each other through that level of celebrity status. And he gave him the one book, and it was The Purpose-Driven Life. And he was like, "Go change your life. Read it, brother, while you're there." And there was ESPN did one of them E60, and he actually mentioned that. It was pretty good.
Interesting.
It was really interesting because if you see Phelps from that time after that was when he was on TMZ with the bong, smoking that, doing all kind. It was all leading into that, and then after he came out of rehab, he's really changed his life.
That's
So
awesome.
it was a really good book.
That's awesome.
Then-
What go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna go into the next question.
Yeah,
so.
I might be jumping, so I figured I'd.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, so, like, if you were to recommend a book for someone like that's business specific, what would you recommend?
What's that one? Let's go to the next question.
If you were to,
I'm trying to think of the one book, but I can't remember the freaking name.
is it the Third Circle or whatever it is?
No.
Okay. Well, if you were to recommend someone for their own their own
I'm gonna
personal
look up the book while you're.
their own personal life, what book would it be?
You know, it's funny. I had that question asked the other day to me. They were like, "What book besides the Bible would be the best book?" I'm like,
Well, I forgot the whole besides the Bible part, but I was like prepping that part as well.
"Yeah, no. That's a hard question. Like for me, if you're asking me personally, but if you're asking me to recommend to you, for example, that's hard because, like I just shared with you, I'm not big on fiction stuff.
Right.
So somebody else might think some fiction book is the greatest book ever written.
Right.
So it's relative. But if you're asking me the best personal book, is that what you said?
Yeah, or like whatever. Yeah, like the book that you feel like would relate to people the most, that would like help them or like make them feel better reading it. Like,
Well,
like when you get done with the book and you're like, man, I really enjoyed that read.
Yeah,
What kind of book
there's
is that?
two that stand out to me, and it goes back to like the relentless personality that I feel like I have and the competitive nature of life. The two that stand out to me, the very first one is Relentless by Tim Grover. That one just helped see inside the mind of a very competitive person and the way they think and the way they kind of maneuver through the day. It's a really, really good book.
Okay.
There's different levels of people that are just really you think someone's relentless, but then when the weather's cold outside, are they really doing their outdoor workout?
Right.
They're relentless to this point, but Michael Jordan's going outside. Kobe Bryant's doing the last drill.
Right.
And there's just a whole different level, and it kind of just shared a whole insight of that, of a mindset of that. That one, and then the Third Circle is another one that is just amazing because it really shares the growth and evolution of life as you go through. So,
did you figure out the book that you were looking for? Or
no.
Do I know it? Have you talked to me about it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
There's a couple that fall in there though. I'll just talk about the other two. There was I forget the author, but it's called Scaling Up.
Okay.
That one's a really good book. And then I'm drawing a blank, but Ray Dalio, the famous financial investor, he did a book called Principles. That's another one.
Gotcha.
And those two, from a business perspective, are really, really good books. They Scaling Up, I can't remember that author's name, but it's more business practices that you can go through. And then Principles has some investment stuff in there, but it's not really that. It's how he built Bridgewater, his financial company.
Okay.
And how he made it the most successful business was doing a lot of self-evaluation back to him. For example, he shares in there when they're having a meeting with the staff actually has, like on their tablet, as Ray is speaking to the staff about an issue, they're physically grading him right there live in the moment.
Okay.
And he can see it on his computer. Not enough information, too much content, spending too long on this subject. Like there's immediate feedback, so he knows how to navigate to get the most productive meeting done.
Okay. Interesting.
And then that was just one example of so many things. And he shares about how, in short story, you go through a vicious cycle. And if you're not careful, you'll just keep going in a loop, and you will never climb the loop. So he draws, if you can imagine a loop, and then you're going up like a roller coaster in another loop and up.
Right.
So you're going into it, and I'm going to kind of mess this up, but in general summary, he describes in there how you're starting to ride the wave up, business is going good, you run into a problem, the problem's sending you back. Let's say you make a mistake somewhere, it's bringing you back down, and then you're either going to fix the problem and shoot out of the loop and move on up again, or you're going to never fix the problem and stay in a vicious loop.
Right.
It's just a little analogy to kind of understand the process of going through things.
Right.
And how you address things and how you better grow in the business. Just little things like that. You tend to really lean into people that have become successful because they've done something right. You don't have to reinvent the wheel just to do it.
Right.
So
yeah.
That's a lot of the content. And a lot of times you'll be going through a book and you'll get very little out of it. And then I used to have a really bad habit when I first started, and I think we've all probably done this. Tell me if you have. You start reading a book. You're like, oh, I get the story. I'm 3/4 of the way through. I'm like, I read the book.
Right.
Read the book from the start to the finish. I was the
It's
world's
the hardest
worst.
part. It's the hardest part. It's either starting or finishing. It's always the hardest.
I would get into it, and I'm like, I got pretty much what he's talking about. I'm ready to get on to the next book. And the one day I heard something somewhere. I think it was Zig Ziglar or somebody was saying, if you're going to cut the yard, cut the whole yard. Don't cut half, because then you feel like you will never accomplish anything. Like you always got things half done.
Right.
Like do the complete job, whatever it looks like. If you're going to read a book, read the book from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept hearing that everywhere. So that one book, I wish I could remember exactly what it was, the book and the detail. But that whole book, I had heard everything before. And I'm reading through it. I'm like, yeah, I've heard this. I've heard that. That was an interesting story. It just told different than the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And the last probably 3 pages, I got the most out of the book. And I normally would have just bypassed the entire book.
Right.
It was the craziest thing.
It's crazy. And that's the same thing, with the ending of this episode, right? This last 3 minutes is where you get the most content. It's where you also are reminded to like, comment, and subscribe. So that way, we keep interacting, right? So that way we know who's watching the videos. We know who's sharing the videos. Who's commenting, and then also the people that are subscribed, they know when we put out content like this as well.
Yeah, so you got to log in, hit like, that way it works.
The login is the biggest thing, and that's the part that sucks the most.
Yeah.
Admittedly. So make sure, like I said, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff, and share it, especially share it. So anything else you want to add to this library of knowledge we just
Can we
enlisted?
circle back and do some more later? Not now.
Say that again?
I said we can circle back and do some of these more later.
Oh, for sure. Especially if someone wants to hear more about it specifically.
Maybe we'll
feel
do
free to
another
reach
one where
out.
we can do 3 business books,
Mm-hmm.
3 personal ones,
Yeah, that'd be good.
something like that.
That'd be awesome.
3
Feel free to
health ones.
feel free to loop around too to Justin and make sure that if you have any questions about the books that he mentioned, he'll hook you up because I'm not the one with the bookshelf.
I'll
He
go
is.
live on Facebook and read it to you.
Hey, it'd be like
Just kidding.
reading like bedtime stories.
Didn't they take Cat in the Hat out? Somebody got mad. They'll
Well,
probably get mad if I
Dr.
read.
Seuss, he's actually got some questionable views, I will admit, but the books are fine as far as I know. But
Cancel culture.
well,
Here we go.
I don't know about the books, but he's got
I always thought green eggs and ham were funny anyways.
he's got anti-Semitic
Look,
views and
I'm
stuff,
not getting
dude.
all that.
Well, no, I was
don't
just
know
saying-
where they said that from. So
I was just saying, a Dr. Seuss guy. It's kind of weird. Ted
Yeah,
Geisel.
well,
Ted
he-
Geisel's just a weird name. Doesn't
anybody,
that sound like a serial
anybody
killer?
talking about green eggs is kind of weird. I'm
That's
just
a
saying.
good point. That's a good point. And
Or a-
ham.
Or a cat in a hat. Come on now.
That's a good point.
Where'd that come from?
Books. Technically.
That's why I don't read that crazy stuff. Because I'll be worried about cats in the hat.
All
Green
right.
eggs on my ham.
You out? 'Cause
I'm out.
All right, we out.